Hello everyone, today we have new video review, and as you can see, this time we are going to talk about fresh release from ICM, and I would call it as a combo set because name says it all. We have two kits in one box, and it might be handy for a simple diorama project, or who knows, maybe you would like to develop it into something bigger. But you can notice it's a B-26K with the USAF pilots and ground personnel, so we have figures included together with a big scale aircraft kit. And in my opinion, this should be an interesting project for all aircraft modelers who are not afraid of the 1/48 scale. And this is a commercial sample, so it means you will get exactly the same stuff as what you'll see in this video review. Nothing will change, and you will get exactly all the parts, all the same things which will be shown in this video review. And first of all, I have to say that the kit number is 48280, and this kit, it was released, I would say, this year, relatively recently. It was released in several versions, so you can check other versions on our YouTube channel as well. We reviewed them all, and all of them are quite great kits to build. You can also notice we have quite nice box art here. Here is comparison with my hand. Box is relatively large, especially for a 1/48 scale aircraft, but we have 344 parts, and wingspan will be 455 millimeters, so be ready for such monster. It's not a small model, even though it's a 1/48 scale aircraft. And here on the other side you can see 4 marking options which are included here. So the main difference is the tail signs, because all the aircraft here are camouflaged, so you have to work around this. Obviously, nobody stops you from choosing something different. In case you have some aftermarket decals, you're more than welcome to try to replicate something different. By the way, here you can notice that box is sealed with the tape, so that's something I usually say on every review. If this tape is removed, it means that kit was opened before you, and that's why it's a good, let's say, thing to ask seller why it was opened and check all the parts. That also means that you cannot open the box in the shop in order to examine all the sprues, and that's why you should watch this video review. And by the way, I can also remind you that you can support us with a small donation. It's quite easy thing to do, because you can do it via a special button here via YouTube, which will give you special benefits as well, or you can do it via a huge button on our website, and it's done via PayPal. And of course you decide how much you will give us for a new photo and video equipment, or maybe for some interesting kit to be reviewed on our channel. So here you can see that box structure is quite typical for ICM. Here inside we have, I would say, quite packed box, and you can see that sprues are separated into several plastic bags. We have assembly manual on the top. Obviously we will not start with assembly manual, we will start with plastic sprues, and then gradually we will move on to other elements. So I can see 4 plastic bags here. First one is dedicated to some aircraft parts. I'll open it right now, and we will take a closer look together. Okay, so we are going to start with a big sprue which is dedicated to wing parts. And overall design is typical, especially if you've seen previous B-26 reviews on our YouTube channel, you will be quite familiar with this kit. What I like about this model is that front cowling section is molded as a single piece part. It means you won't have to worry about any possible gaps and seams in such, I would say, visible area. Note that also bomb bay doors are molded as a single piece parts. As far as I remember, you can assemble them in open or closed position, which is also a good option to have. External features, they include recessed panel lines and rivets on the wings. Here you can take a closer look. Note that all wing mechanization parts are molded separately, and here you can take a look at the instrument panel. Obviously it's a good idea to replace it with some aftermarket PE, especially considering the fact that Edward already produces special sets. Definitely go for it, because it will be worth it, even though, I mean, the canopy design on this aircraft poses some, I would say, challenges. Still, it's worth investing into some cockpit features. Next, we continue with fuselage halves. So both are molded together with a tail fin, but they're molded without rudder, so be careful while joining all this stuff together. Landing gear wheels, that's another candidate to be replaced with an aftermarket. Edward produces resin wheels, so definitely go for it, because such large parts, their, let's say, upgrade will be noticeable, and resin wheels, they actually bring more features, so that's why it is important to spend a bit more and get better appearance on such huge model. What I like about fuselage halves is that we get some interior features as well. It's not just a plain plastic inside, so that's why it's a good idea to play with some weathering here, maybe use some washes. And of course we have guiding elements around the fuselage halves, because these are quite large parts, so it is important to get them properly aligned. Next, we continue with this plastic sprue. It is dedicated to tail wings. As you can see, elevators are molded separately, but still molding quality seems to be fine. I can bring them closer so that you can see that we have here recessed panel lines and rivets. Yeah, camera does not want to focus, so I will have to do it like this. Yeah, now you should be able to see. And of course inside we have guiding elements, guiding pins, so they will help you with the proper alignment. These are relatively big parts, and that's why it is important to pay attention to the alignment of them between each other. Next we continue with some parts. Actually, these are pylons for external equipment on the wings. As you can see, they're not big for 1/48 scale, and some parts will require careful installation with tweezers, otherwise you won't be able to get them into the right spot. For example, here we have a control yoke for the cockpit. And molding quality seems to be fine. I mean, all the attachment points are thin enough in order to carefully separate them with a plastic saw or maybe plastic cutter. I would rather use saw because it will give you a, let's say, better control over the whole process. Next, we continue with another pair of wing halves. We also get propellers here, but as far as I remember, these propellers should not be used in today's version. We will check it in assembly manual to be sure. But overall molding quality is as good as what we saw on the previous sprues, and I would say design is also relatively identical to the first pair of the sprues, so it's just a matter of careful assembly and you'll be good to go. Next, I'm opening another plastic bag. This one is dedicated to external equipment, and it is full of identical plastic sprues. So actually we get two pairs of Armament sprues, and I will show them in a second. Just give me a moment. First pair is dedicated to rocket launchers, so here you can see it. I will leave you only one so that you can see which parts are supplied here. Let's zoom in a bit. And of course each launcher will have to be glued out of several parts, so be ready to work on this two halves joint, and maybe it would be a good idea to track the overall, let's say, smoothness of the connection between these two halves. Of course we have some guiding elements inside, so it won't be that difficult, but still you have to be careful while working with these things. And next we continue with another pair of plastic sprues. Here they are. These are bombs, so they are also supplied, as you can see, as a matter of assembly, several parts. And again, you can upgrade them with an aftermarket resin set. It will cost more, but it will give you a better looking parts because they will be casted as a single piece parts, and you won't have to worry about any unnecessary gaps and issues. Now I'm opening another plastic bag. It's a bigger one, so just give me a second. Okay, let's remove this plastic sprue. Place this plastic bag aside and start with this gray plastic frame. So I just need to see where is the bottom, where is the top. Let's zoom out a bit. Now you can see that here we have another pair of wings. Now, frankly speaking, I'm not sure that this option, this version of the wings will be used, so it might go to your spare parts box. I mean, definitely one of the wing types will be going into your spare parts box, and that's quite an interesting thing because you can use them later in your, let's say, later projects. Here inside you can see that it's pretty much the same design. We have a lot of alignment elements, guiding elements as well, so it will be easy to get everything together. Just do not hurry while working on this stuff. Next we continue with two identical plastic sprues. Here they are, so they are dedicated to engines. And this is something I like about this kit, is that ICM decided not to skip on the engines. It's not like we get only one engine or we do not get at all the engines. We get both detailed engines, and they can be upgraded even more with some additional PE, but you can see that even the standard out-of-the-box version should look good, so that's a really great addition to 1/48 scale, especially considering the fact that they will be visible through the engine nacelles, so that's why it is important to work on them, maybe to make one of this front cowling section removable so that you can expose the engine. Okay. Next, we continue with a clear plastic frame. So I'm going to open it right now. It comes in the separate plastic bag, obviously. So here we have canopy parts, and they look quite nice. I hope that ICM included in this kit the masking template, because they recently started doing so, and this is a really handy thing because, as you can see, this canopy will be a bit tricky to cut all the stickers, but with mask template you just cut them according to the template, apply them on these parts, and you're good to go. So it's, I would say, obviously more streamlined process, which will save you some time. Next we continue with another gray plastic sprue. Here we have mix of various parts. We have some parts for the fuselage, for wing mechanization, also for the cockpit, for landing gear. Here you can see we have main landing gear legs as well as the nose landing gear leg, and everything looks cool. Here, by the way, you can see the control yoke for the cockpit, and also some other cockpit parts here and there. And one piece nose cone. This is also important thing because you won't have any gaps in such, let's say, notable or visible area. Next we continue with the final gray plastic sprue for the aircraft. But here you can see that we have engine gondolas and wing halves. I think the engine gondolas will be used, but wing halves will not be used. They will stay in your spare parts box. And now I'm opening another plastic bag. Here it is, with figure parts. So as for the figures, they should be or can be familiar to you because they were issued first as a separate plastic kit. We reviewed it as well. You can find it on our YouTube channel, but now you can get it as a part of this combo set, let's say. Let's zoom in. Here you can see that we have, I would say, typical parts division. It's somewhat similar to what we are used to see in a 1/35 scale. If I zoom in, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's a one-piece torso, and note that torso is molded together with the head, so it's even more streamlined. Assembly process is just a matter of adding legs and hands and you are good to go. Obviously poses are predefined, so you won't be able to change much, but still it is nice to get a lot of figures together with this large aircraft. And there are not that many, I would say, figures in 1/48 scale. That's why it is really important in my opinion. Next we continue with decals sheets, which are hidden in the assembly manual. That's a typical thing for ICM, so let's remove this plastic sprue here to the side. We are going to start with the large decals sheet. Let's close the lenses a bit and zoom in. So here we have decals for all marking options, and we also have decals for the cockpit, not seat belts, unfortunately, so you have to do seat belts maybe from the masking tape. But do not worry, we also get the stencils, which is quite, I would say, noticeable or important thing in 1/48 scale. So apply all these stencils and your aircraft would be even better looking, because it will provide, I would say, some fine features to the aircraft. Next we continue with assembly manual. So this one is provided in form of large color printed brochure. It's a typical design for ICM, nothing I would say unusual. You can see short history note here, and note that the assembly manual comes from B-26K kit with a slightly different kit number. Next, we continue with the parts map. So here you can see that these wing parts, they will not be used. They will stay in your spare parts box. And also here we have separate assembly manual for American pilots. Here you can see it. So it's assembly manual combined together with a marking guide. Also another separate manual for the armament for this aircraft, US Aviation Armament. So obviously you will not be using all of them. As you can see, there are various bombs, missiles and rocket launchers, and some of them will stay in your spare parts box, so it's quite a nice addition as well. Next we continue with another page of the parts map for the aircraft. Again, a lot of stuff is not used for this particular version, so quite many parts will stay in your spare parts box, so it's also a lot of extras to get. And unusually the assembly process starts with the bomb bay, so you have to assemble these bomb releases which will be placed in the fuselage. Next we continue with the bulkheads, which will be also serving as a wing supports. As you can see, we have large shoulders on both sides, and only then we start working on the cockpit. So then we join everything together between fuselage house, we start working on the tail wings, and do not forget about the nose weight, because it will be quite important here. I mean, model is quite huge, so you can see that you have to place, I think it was 40 grams. Yeah, 40 grams of weight in the nose, so that you won't get a tail seater out of this big B-26. Next we continue with the wing assembly, so do not forget we have the fuel tank on both ends. Here we assemble the engine nozzles, and you can see they get assembled out of several parts. And of course do not forget that we also get the engine. It is not here yet. It will be, I guess, on the next pages, because here we work on the landing gear, and that's the engine assembly process. So as you can see, a lot of parts will actually go there, and that's why I was saying that it's worth thinking how to expose it, because it would be a shame to hide both power plants under this one-piece coatings. Next we continue with the bomb bay, so you're given a choice whether to open or close it. Here we continue with various minor antennas and pylons on the wings, propellers, so actually you use the K2 parts, which I was saying they're not used. Okay. Next we have the loadout scheme, so that you decide which one you would like to replicate in your aircraft. Obviously all of the armament is not possible to place on this aircraft, so that's why you have to decide. Here we have masking template. So you have to use this mask for the canopy, which is really cool because it will provide you with a better paint finish on your aircraft. Next we continue with the marking guide for the first marking option. Here's the second one, third one, and we have one more here. So, as I said before, they are camouflaged aircraft, and the main difference will be the signs on the tail. So, this kit should be already available. You can get it in Modelimex webshop. Of course, I'll be happy to hear your opinion about such a release. Do not forget to write it here in the comment section below. If you like this video, press the like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and I will see you in the next video review as usual. Thank you for joining me today, and bye!